Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trap Chat. I am your host, Kirsten Greggs, the Trap Recruiter. I am so excited for our April series, Meeting the Moment, Embracing and Navigating Pivots, and equally excited for my first guest, Jon Safran, a Philadelphia native, go Birds, 23-year senior master sergeant in the United States Air Force, former superintendent of maintenance and personnel of Air Force One, not the shoes, y'all, the actual Air Force One. Jon has been honored multiple times with 3 meritorious service medals, 6 Air Force Commendation Medals, 3 Achievement Medals, and was named White House Military Office's Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. He currently works in Prince George's County, also is the Chief Military Engagement Advisor at Military Connected. Shout out to my friends there. He is a husband, a father of 2 girls. Go girl dad. He has a dog, Maximus, who I'm told is the toughest Morkie in town. Not sure what town, but just beware and be on alert. Jon also loves DJing and working on his classic Mustang. Hey, Jon.
It's good to see you. Thanks again for having me on Trap Chat.
Likewise. So let's get into it, because I'm sure folks are like, what does she mean, meeting the moment? So let's start with your career journey, which began in some of the most structured systems on the planet. And now you're doing work that requires a different kind of flexibility and impact. What was the most unexpected pivot you've had to make in your career, and how did you navigate it?
Right. Well, Kirsten, once again, I really appreciate you having me on to talk to you and talk to the Trap Chat audience. I'm looking forward to a good, engaging conversation and really talking about navigating those pivots and embracing the changes that come into your life, right? And speaking of that, probably one of the biggest, changes or pivots that I had to make was, after leaving the military and retiring and finally hanging up that uniform for the last time, right? And you start engaging more with the civilian workforce and the civilian work population and understanding that most people don't really know what's going on in the military. They don't understand rank structure or those awards you rattled off. Nobody really worries about that too much. They're like, hey, what have you done for me lately? And that's a real change in mindset that I had to kind of learn and figure out and process and kind of, understand how to make that pivot from that civilian sector or from that military mindset to that civilian sector. And it's been a challenge that I and pretty much every other veteran has had to navigate in some way, shape, or form. But I hope that our conversation today can help maybe somebody who watches this and figure it out in their own way and their own path.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the shift from the transition from military to civilian life. And myself not having been in the military, but having worked with, because of my career, worked with folks who were transitioning, I had to kind of let them take the lead in what they actually needed. Because I think a lot of time recruiters tend to tell a job seeker, especially, one that comes to the table, because I do need to make this, like you guys, again, very regimented, very respectful, very disciplined and open to learn. And you're like, and you're coming to a recruiter, you're coming to a civilian job thinking that you don't have the experience in the civilian world. So that person is the expert. And I think that that's been like the main thing of me having to step back and, letting folks know, no, actually you are the expert and here are your transferable skills. How do we apply those here best? Like, what is the best way to do that? So I love that you mentioned that, because I think that a lot of military folks come into it thinking that they're kind of, for lack of a better word, like the underdog. And you're absolutely not. Like, you have a great deal of experience that even folks who have worked for some time, folks who had internships in corporate America, like they don't get the type of experience and the type of discipline and just skill set, range of skill sets that some folks in the military get, depending on what your area of expertise is. So appreciate you mentioning that. And to all recruiters, like, again, this is a partnership. So let folks do what they're doing. Yeah. Now, you've worked in environments where failure isn't an option and reliability is just non-negotiable. Like, you don't get to not show up that day. How did you build and sustain trust with your team and your senior leaders?
Well, I think with any career or any job that you do, I think experience and building that experience and building that knowledge, it leads to that trust, right? Everyone has their first day at work. You come in, you're the new person on the shift, and you're figuring it out. You're figuring how to work the system and how to do your job, and who can train you and who shouldn't train you. You're figuring all those things out. And over time, that experience, that knowledge, everything that you've done in your past and in your present, it builds on that knowledge, right? Your leadership team, your coworkers, the team that you work with, all of it requires trust, and all of it needs to be built from the ground up. And it's it's funny because a lot of times you'll go into a new environment, and you may not be the most the smartest person in the room or the most highly skilled, but every person and every member brings specific traits to that team. And learning how to take advantage of those traits and utilize them to the most effective ability, that's part of how a team works. That's storming, norming, forming, performing. That whole process of building a team, right? And once that's built and you're performing, that trust, it just comes naturally.
I love that. And that's a great segue to my next question. And I just want to put this in my mental Rolodex, so I have to say it out loud: storming, norming, and performing.
Storming, forming,
yes. Norming.
Storming is where all the jumbled up ideas happen, right? And then once you get all that out of the way, all the tumultuous stuff out of the way, you start forming what that team is, figuring out what your purpose is, vision. And then once all that's done, then you start norming. You start figuring out, okay, what's the process? How do we execute that? And get into a normal operations kind of procedure. And then when all that is done, then you start performing. Now you start performing at a higher level, and you're really executing and making things happen.
SFNP.
Forming, norming, performing. Yeah.
Yes, I think I've seen that before. And when I wrote it down, SFNP, I was like, okay.
That's how you build trust.
I love it when I can add stuff to my lexicon.
Excellent.
All right. So again, great segue. You've gone from managing cross-functional teams to advising veterans and now leading in public service. So relationships are clearly central to your leadership.
Right.
Can you share a time when building authentic relationships across these diverse environments enabled you to navigate pivotal transitions more effectively?
I would say that, if you're building relationships, man, some of the most important relationships that you build are that network that you build, in your current job. Of course, I've been in the military for over 20 years. So you build a network from that, right? But it doesn't just have to be the military. It can be anything, any hobby, any job, any career, any team, any club, any whatever. If you're building that team and building that network and building those relationships, you never know who can kind of benefit you later, or how you can benefit somebody else. One of the biggest things that I've really kind of reached in my tool bag for as I've transitioned out of the military is reaching back to that network, reaching back to those friends and colleagues and coworkers that you've had long established relationships with, right? And nobody knows you better than those people. And you can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or hey, do you have a contact for that? And a lot of times you'd be surprised how small this world is, and who knows who, and whose paths intersect with what. And building that network is incredibly important. And a lot of that has played into my post-military career, including the nonprofit I'm working with now, militaryconnect.org. It's essentially building networks on networks, and finding career opportunities for veterans as they come out of the service, that are specifically geared towards them and their skills, both hard and soft skills. So building that network, man, that if I had known that years ago, when I was a young strapping airman, I would have really put a lot more energy and a lot more focus into it, because I realized how much it would benefit me in the future.
Yes, please listen to that, because as I tell every job seeker, as I tell every person, whether you're looking for a job or not, whether you're just trying to, sharpen your skills in your current role, or, build something, like one of the best things you could tell someone is to learn how to network effectively. And especially in a job search, networking is a part of every single one of those job search points. Like, you can't get away from it. So you learn how to do that effectively, and you will be successful.
Totally.
All right, let's move on to accountability. And as someone who's managed assets worth billions of dollars, and you've also overseen the transportation of presidents. Wow. How do you create a culture of accountability within your teams without stifling creativity and initiative?
That's a tough one, because, at the same time, you want to maintain standards, you want to maintain expectations, but you don't want to limit people in finding new ways to problem solve. Fortunately, I worked with a team of superstars who were always on top of their business. So that was never really, I want to say, a difficulty. But I think what's important, no matter where you work or what team you're a part of, it's to keep an open ear and listen, right? People are always going to have their opinions. They're always going to have a different way of doing things, whether that's the way they were brought up or they were trained slightly different from the other person. But if you keep your ear open and your mind open as well, you'll learn something new, and you're able to encourage and nurture that sense of creativity and the ability to kind of figure problems out in a different way, while still maintaining those expectations and still maintaining those rules and guidelines and boundaries. It is possible, but I think a good leader understands that if you're able to listen more than you're directing, and more than you're talking, and more than you're giving orders, the people that you're leading feel heard, they feel understood, they feel engaged, and they're going to be more appreciative, and I think more productive as well. So it's something that you definitely need to kind of be out on the floor with your people for. You can't be a leader from up in the ivory tower and just barking down orders all day.
No,
you got to be out there doing the job as well. So.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because, as I have learned more about you, and not just your job titles, but, just everything in our, we had a brief conversation a few weeks ago where, again, I got to learn more about you, and, not just your career, but your personal life. It demonstrates a talent for anticipating challenges before they become a crisis. You're not reactionary. You're definitely very strategic in your approach. So, could you share a specific example where your proactive mindset allowed you to transform a potential problem into an opportunity? And what systems do you use to stay ahead of emerging issues?
To stay ahead of emerging issues, I will say it kind of goes back to learning and understanding your people, your coworkers, and the people who stand elbow to elbow with you. If you kind of have a pulse of your team and understand their wants and needs, you're able to anticipate a lot of stuff that kind of comes down the pipeline. Um, and the stuff that you can't anticipate, your team is strong enough. If you're doing those things, your team is then strong enough to be resilient and navigate those challenges. Um, but man, I will say that if I'm looking for an example, ooh boy, you kind of got me on my heels here. There's all in the military, right? There's always things going wrong, or things that need to be fixed, that are broken, or policies that need to be adjusted. That's a constant thing that you have to deal with, and also in the civilian sector too. There's always stuff that goes wrong. There's always stuff that needs to be fixed. But I think as long as you are, again, laying those expectations out, and holding people to the standard, and correcting things when they go wrong, you're always going to go out on top. You'll meet the mission, and you'll get the job done, right? And the people who are supporting you, they'll be right behind you.
I love that. All right. So here's the, I guess, important question for the audience as well. For any listeners who are facing their own pivot points, that could be anything from burnout. We all experience that, a career transition. So for folks that are, even looking to go from one job field to another, or from a mid-level to a senior, or an entry to a mid, or an entry to a senior, or a veteran looking to transition into civilian life. What's one habit or mindset shift that has enabled you to repeatedly meet those moments?
Ooh. Well, this I think this is a pretty good segue into a little bit of what I do with this nonprofit, militaryconnected.org. You're talking about people who are transitioning out and figuring out, hey, what's my next step? What do I do next? I've been conditioned for X for so long. How do I make that jump over to Y? Militaryconnected.org, it's a great service that's free to the member. You go into the website, sign up, and you are able to log in with all of your military information, your MOS code, your AFSC code, input that into the system, and it's able to translate essentially what you do as a military member into civilian speak, right? And with that, it's able to list jobs, career opportunities that are specific to you and what you do and your hard and soft skills to make the most of your next career opportunity. I'm really passionate about this service. It's one of the first things that I was able to jump into and come on board the team with after I retired. And I know that it can help a lot of people, right? It's a tumultuous time right now, especially kind of with federal workers and everything that's going on in the U.S., right? But this is still a phenomenal service that helps military members through that transitionary period. It's scary. It's unnerving. It's different, right? It's different. Yeah. So it's always good to have that network of people and services that you can fall back on and take advantage of, that can help you and help your family and get you on the right track.
Yeah. And again, I got to put my recruiter hat on, because it's also good for companies, for organizations who are looking to hire, especially those who tout themselves as, veteran friendly, or they want to be a veteran organization.
Man, it's like you're reading my mind. I'll tell you.
No, because it helps recruiters. Because again, recruiters don't know everything. We are skilled at a number of things, but honestly, we learn about jobs from job seekers. We ask them questions that are supposed to elicit information, again, that helps us do our jobs better.
Absolutely.
You know, and they correct us sometimes on, well, actually, that's because we get into these habits where we just read scripts or where we ask these questions that don't make sense to the person that's doing the job. And people are going to say, oh, no, I'm not being extreme. Because imagine how many times you've heard somebody explain your job to you and you're like, no.
Yeah.
So the same way that you talked about how veterans can use military connected to translate their jobs into civilian speak, recruiters can use it to speak in the language of the military and actually see how their job descriptions align with these with these skill sets, with these resumes, with these profiles, in ways that the person may not necessarily know how to articulate, or they think they're articulating it, but because again, you guys don't speak the same language, it's not connecting. So I love that you mentioned that, and I love services like Military Connected that do those hard jobs for us. And again, it's AI technology doing some of this matching. I know there's a lot of folks who get job matching angst and they're like, that's silly, it's just keyword matching. No, it's a little bit more sophisticated,
a little more complicated
than that. So your tool definitely demonstrates a need from both ends. So appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
That's great. Again, like you're reading my mind. You hit it out the park. I got to tell you, you're doing my pitch.
Thank you.
But I will say you're right. It is kind of a two-pronged approach. Obviously,
yes.
we do a lot of focus on helping the veteran transition over and make that career jump, right? But at the same time, there are a lot of companies, just like you said, who are military friendly, and they love to wave the American flag around and support our troops and all that. But there's a difference between being military friendly and being military ready. And a company that's military ready understands what that veteran is going through, what the process is of transitioning over and making that jump, right? And still understanding that bringing that veteran onto their team is a plus. It is beneficial to them. It is beneficial to their teammates and to their employers and to everybody across the board, right? You and I know that a lot of veterans come out and they have a lot of skill sets. They have a lot of leadership skills, followership skills, and stuff that you just can't teach somebody who comes out of college. They have life experience, and that goes back to what we were talking about, experience, right? It's a great service. It's a great method. It's proven, it's tested, and it's only growing. So, and especially, like I said, in times like these, I think something like this is sorely needed. And I'm speaking from the heart because it's worked for me as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you see it scrolling at the bottom. Make sure you go to www.militaryconnected.org. Okay.
Right. Military nonprofit organization. Absolutely. Again, free to the user, sign up.
Yes.
No money out of pocket.
There you go. All right. So it's time for rapid fire. This is my favorite part of the show because I get to learn more about the person, not just their career.
This is what I was most nervous about.
Really? This is the easy part.
Yeah, but then it tells you like, oh man, who is this guy on the other side of my laptop screen? You know what I mean? So I'm gonna do my best. So
you want to be elusive? I got you. Okay. Who is a well-known or lesser-known historical or contemporary figure that inspires you and we should learn more about?
Tuskegee Airman Brigadier General Benjamin Davis. For several years, I was the vice president of the East Coast chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen in the DC area.
The largest chapter.
That's right. The largest and most active chapter.
And most active, yes.
That's right. And if you're not familiar with the Tuskegee Airmen, besides, the movies that you've maybe seen on TV, those movies depicted the lives of real airmen, real soldiers.
Yeah.
And Brigadier General Davis, he was the first Black general in the U.S. Air Force. And he was a great leader of great men. And I think that's something we should all have more of today. And it's a great, he has a great story. It's an amazing story. Take 5 minutes to Google Brigadier General Benjamin O. Davis.
Will do. All right. That's a great one. That's a great one, especially and very timely, given all of the lovely things that are going on in our world, here in America. Okay. Ooh, this is a good one. And I hope you're not going to say Captain America, but if you do, that's fine. What? Because you got your Captain America.
Yeah. Hey, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
All right. What fictional character gives you a glimpse of yourself?
I'll be honest. This is the one I had the most trouble with. I am a big comic book guy. I'm a big, pop culture kind of movie reference guy.
Yeah.
Kind of a little bit of a geek nerd, a little bit, but man, that I still struggle with that. Let me flip that. Let me ask you that same question. Who do you think gives you a glimpse of yourself?
It depends on the day and depends on the show. So I can say things like Suzanne Sugarbaker, for anyone who's ever seen Designing Women. Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, even though I'm not an attorney, but in some friend groups, that's who I am.
Maxine Shaw from Living Single.
Yeah, absolutely. If we're talking different world, I don't think I'm any of them. If we're talking, I think I would be a mix of like several different characters, because it depends. And then if it's the Cosby Show, there's a fight that I have with someone who says that I'm Vanessa, but I am not, because I don't have middle child syndrome. I'm the youngest. Ooh. I actually think I'm Rudy, because I was the chief negotiator, and I was so much younger than my siblings that I was kind of like an only child. Mm-hmm. And then my parents are wonderful people, so they invited other people. There were always someone else's child in my house. And for a short time in high school, while one of our family friends was away at basic training, we had custody of her 2-year-old. And my parents worked in Philadelphia. We lived in New Jersey. So I would have to pick her up from daycare every day.
You was Ubering before Uber. Okay.
Well, it was walking. I would get up, I would finish school, high school, get off the bus, take some time to myself, go get her, bring her home, get dinner started, do those things. And we got to the point where we were like battle royal, But yeah, so it depends. I would say I'm more Rudy. So, and again, that same situation, like Rudy with Olivia, that, trying to con her into being, get that, that kind of, and then there's that episode of Rudy and Olivia, being at war with one another. Like I identify with that very much.
Wow.
Very much.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, when I was younger, if we're talking about Cosby Show, people used to say that I look like Elvin from the Cosby Show. I had my hair a little bit more poofed out a little bit. That was a long time ago.
Okay.
All right.
So Elvin. All right.
Well, no, I'm not Elvin.
You want to say Captain America, so just say it.
How about Iron Man? All right.
Okay.
He wears a suit of armor, but who is he on the inside?
But Captain America was in the army, though, right?
He was.
He was not in the Air Force. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's move on. What is your favorite empowering quote?
I kind of alluded to this earlier, but somebody told me a long time ago that the best leaders listen more than they speak. And again, that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about understanding who you work with and who works for you and who you work for. You're listening and you're keeping an open ear and an open heart and an open mind. You're much more likely to build that trust with your team and your coworkers, and people will come to you, right? Because they'll know you listen. They'll come to you with your problems, they'll come to you with solutions as well. It's one of the things that I've always kind of like, tried to adhere to, and I think it's worked. If you're listening, if you're being open, if you're being available, people will come to you again, and they'll know that you can get it done.
Yeah, I like that. If you could spend the day shadowing someone in a different profession from your own, who would it be, and what would you hope to learn from them?
Again, kind of with everything that's going on in the world right now, probably like a member of Congress or a senator or something like that, to see how that works kind of behind the scenes, and to be able to kind of understand and take that knowledge back to my community and enable, like, figure out how to make my community better. You know what I mean? To be able to understand how that machine works and then bring it back to the population and make your neighborhood better, make your community better, make your town better. Maybe that's kind of
I like that.
Stars,
I have not had anyone give that example. I mean, folks have said things like, Michelle Obama. I don't think anyone's ever said Barack Obama. I think people have said Kamala Harris actually as well. So I can see that.
Well, I mean, it's about, like learning and understanding how things work. Even if you agree with it or don't agree with it, you got to know how it works. You got to know how it works in order to take advantage of it and make it work for you, and make it work for the community, make it work for your family, to where everybody's benefiting from the system.
Yeah.
I
love that. Oh, this is going to be a good one because you're a DJ and I know you know some songs. So what is your go-to songs or music genre when you want to hype yourself up to conquer the day?
Wow. Something you said earlier about your parents always bringing people into the house, other people's kids. My parents always brought in a lot of different music. I mean, name a genre, name a style, name a beat, and we had it playing in my house. So today, when I want to get hyped up, when I want to get ready, it's a lot of mix. It's a big mix. I go from Wu-Tang, Raekwon, Raekwon, Inspector Deck, RZA, Jizza, Inspector Deck, Ghostface Killer, everybody. Wu-Tang, I can switch it to Frankie Beverly and Maze, right?
Shout out Philly. Sound. I was like, shout out Philly.
Yeah, absolutely. But I also do a lot of classic rock too. Big Journey fan.
Really?
Big Queen fan. Aerosmith, Boston. A lot of old school dad rock. I do a lot of that growing up, and I still reflect to it. So my playlist is pretty varied.
I love that.
But I can find a beat that get me hyped up. Absolutely.
Okay. I said Wu-Tang. Like I have gotten in trouble for listening to certain songs in my car before going in, and I'm like, you know what? You might want to tone this down a little bit. Because we are not about to ante up in the office today. That's not appropriate. Okay. You're
playing MOP right before you go.
Yeah, listen.
Conference or something. Probably not the best.
No, that gets you even more excited. Okay. It gets you. What do they say? When I say hype yourself up, it gets you hyped up in the wrong part of the.
That's right.
For the wrong reasons. Okay. What is the best piece of career advice you've received that you would give your early career self?
Yeah. So look, everyone comes across rejection, being told no in their personal and professional lives, right? It's inevitable. It's part of life. It's part of growth. It's part of life. It's part of growing up. And sometimes a no is there. You can't do anything about it. But sometimes those no's, there's a yes kind of buried in there. And one of the things I would tell myself is to find the yes.
Okay.
If people say, hey, this isn't going to work out. I'm sorry, but, for whatever reason.
Okay.
A lot of times, if you're able to present them with options that can make it happen, it's like, oh, man, I didn't think about it that way. Or, oh, wow, I didn't even know that was an option. Maybe we can make this work. To find the yes, to put in the extra work and put in the extra effort and research, and to find the yes. It works a lot in the military. Usually things can be kind of, we can work around some things or figure out something or whatever the case may be, but find the yes. A lot of times you're going to be given the no, or you even have to give the no to the other person. But if you can make them find the yes for you, hey, that works as well.
I like that. Find the
Find the
yes.
yes. Find the yes.
Okay, so this might be what your book title is, but if you were to write a book describing your career so far, what would the title be?
To be continued. You a lot of times you say, you're getting out of the military, you're retiring, right? Retiring. You're gonna go and lay on a beach and read a book and that's
why
it.
not?
I'm working. That sounds great, but I'm still pretty young, you know what I mean? And I still got a lot to offer. I still got a lot of energy. I still got a lot of years of my life to give. And to be continued, my life hasn't ended at my military career.
Right.
It's just the next chapter, right? It's just the next book in the series. It's just the next path that I'm going to end up taking. So it's not an ending. It's not a beginning, but it is to be continued.
I like that. Okay, before I let you go, anyone you want to shout out that we should be on the lookout for? If you want folks to be able to connect with you or connect with Military Connected, let folks know where they can find you, interact with you, network with you.
Of course.
All those good stuff. All that good stuff.
You see what's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Again, I'm here for militaryconnected.org. I'm the Chief Military Engagement Advisor. And look, our mission out here is to help transitioning veterans, whether it's you've retired or you've separated or whatever the case may be. You have skills, you have value, and we want to do everything that we can to place you in quality employment. And I don't want to say just employment. That just means you got a job, but I mean like legitimate career opportunities to start something new, to start a new phase of your life. A stat, a lot of military members, they come out and they get their first job, right? 40% of veterans leave that first job within the first year. 80% leave that same job within 2 years.
Wow.
I think a lot of the mindset of veterans coming out of the service is, hey, I need a job. I need something. I need something now. I need something fast. I need to help support my family and maintain the style of life that I've been living all years. So they take whatever job that they can get, even if it might not be the right one for them, whether it's
right.
The level at which they're working or the skills that they're using, it might not be right. So a lot of those veterans, they leave their job very quickly. We want to help eliminate that.
Okay.
Militaryconnected.org is focused on finding those career opportunities for these veterans, and at the same time helping the companies hire the right people for the right things. You can reach me again at the ticker at the bottom through my LinkedIn, or just go to militaryconnected.org and check out the website. Take a stroll, walk around, see what you got, and log in and help yourself out, man. That's what we're here for.
I love it. Thank you so much for kicking off our series and for sharing your insights in meeting the moment and embracing and navigating those pivots, whether they be in your career or your life. This has been a tremendously insightful conversation. I appreciate you. Thank you again for your service. And I will see all of you next time on Track Chat. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Kristen.